The explosion ripped through Jinho's fighter like a hammer hitting glass. Red lights flashed across his cockpit as alarms screamed in his ears. He gripped the controls hard, trying to keep his ship steady, but it was no use. The engine was dying. Smoke filled the small space around him. "Damn it," he whispered. His hands moved fast across the controls, shutting down systems to save power. The battle was over anyway. The Valtheran ships had pulled back, and so had most of the human fleet. Bodies and broken ships floated everywhere in the darkness of space. Another fight. Another day of death. Jinho was 32 years old and had been fighting in this war for 6 years. He was tired of killing, tired of watching friends die, but he was good at what he did, and the Terran Defense Fleet needed good pilots. So he kept flying.
Kept fighting.
His ship drifted into a field of debris. Broken metal and shattered hull pieces surrounded him like a graveyard. He started the emergency repairs, working slowly and carefully. The oxygen would last for maybe 3 days if he was lucky. Maybe someone would find him. Maybe not. That was when he heard it. A beeping sound on his scanner. A distress signal. Weak, but there. Jinho looked at the screen. The signal was coming from an escape pod about 2 kilometers away. He checked the identification code. Valtheran, enemy. He should ignore it. That was the rule. You don't help the enemy. You let them die and you survive. Simple. But Jinho had never been good at following rules when they felt wrong. He fired his maneuvering thrusters, pushing his damaged fighter toward the signal. The ship groaned and shook, but it moved. Slowly, he got closer to the source. What he found made his chest tight. An escape pod, small and round, was caught between 2 large pieces of a destroyed ship. The pod was crushed on one side, and through the cracked window he could see someone inside. Someone small, a child. Jinho acted without thinking. He brought his fighter as close as he could, then put on his emergency suit. The airlock hissed open and he pushed himself out into the cold darkness of space. His magnetic boots attached to the pod's hull with a clang. He looked through the window. A young girl stared back at him with wide, terrified eyes. She was maybe 10 years old. Her skin had the pale blue tint of Valtheran people, and her dark hair floated around her face. She was shaking. The pod's door was jammed. Jinho pulled out his cutting torch and started working on the metal. It took 20 minutes. His air supply was dropping. His hands were getting cold. But he kept cutting. Finally, the door came loose. He pulled it open and reached inside. The girl screamed and pushed away from him. She was scared. Of course she was scared. He was human. The enemy. The monsters her people told stories about. "It's okay," Jinho said softly, even though she probably couldn't understand his language. "I'm not going to hurt you. I promise." He moved slowly, carefully. He showed her his hands were empty. He pointed to his ship, then to her, then made a gesture of safety. "Please trust me," he thought. "Please." The girl looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked at her crushed pod, at the broken oxygen system, at the red emergency lights. She had no choice, and she knew it. She reached out and took his hand. Jinho pulled her carefully through the damaged pod and into space. She held onto him tight, her small fingers digging into his suit. He got them both back to his fighter and inside the airlock. When the door sealed and air filled the small space, he took off his helmet. The girl was crying now, silent tears running down her face. Jinho removed her damaged emergency mask and checked her over. She had some cuts and bruises, but nothing serious. She was lucky. He gave her water and food from his emergency supplies. She drank fast, hungry and scared. He wrapped his thermal blanket around her shoulders. She was so small, so fragile. "What's your name?" he asked gently, speaking slowly. She looked at him with confusion. "Right. Different languages." He pointed to himself. "Jinho," he said. Understanding showed in her eyes. She pointed to herself. "Nari," she whispered. "Nari," he repeated and smiled. "Nice to meet you, Nari." Over the next 3 days, they drifted together through space. Jinho worked on repairing his ship while Nari watched from the corner of the cockpit. At first, she was afraid to move, afraid to make noise, but slowly she relaxed. Jinho shared his food with her even though he had little. He let her sleep in the pilot's chair while he worked. He showed her pictures on his datapad of Earth, of blue oceans and green forests. Her eyes went wide with wonder. She started to trust him. When he worked on the engine and cursed at a stuck bolt, she giggled quietly. When he made a funny face at her, she almost smiled. By the 3rd day, she sat next to him while he flew. asking questions in her language that he couldn't understand. But he answered anyway in his. They were enemies. Their people were killing each other. But here in this small ship floating in the dark, they were just two people, one trying to survive, one trying to help. On the fourth day, Jinho got the engines working well enough to fly. He could go back to the human fleet. It was the smart choice, the safe choice. But Nari was Valtharan. If he brought her to a human ship, she would become a prisoner. Maybe worse. He had seen what happened to enemy prisoners sometimes. He couldn't do that to this child. Instead, he set course for a neutral station near the border. It took another 2 days of slow flying, but they made it. The station was run by the Draxian people, who stayed out of the war and served as mediators when needed. When they docked, Jinho contacted the Draxian authorities. He explained the situation and asked them to arrange for Nari to be returned safely to Valtharan space through proper diplomatic channels. The Draxians agreed. They were surprised a human soldier would do this, but they agreed. Before they took her away, Nari grabbed Jinho's hand. She looked up at him with those big eyes and said something in her language. He didn't know the words, but he understood the meaning. "Thank you. I won't forget you." Jinho knelt down to her level. He touched her hand gently. "Be safe, Nari. Live a good life." She hugged him then, quick and tight, before the Draxian officials led her away. Jinho watched her go until she disappeared around a corner. Then he returned to his ship and set course back to the human fleet. He would probably face punishment for saving an enemy combatant, for violating protocols, for wasting time and resources. He didn't care. Some things were more important than rules. Some things were more important than war. He had saved a child. That was enough. 3 months passed like water through fingers. The war continued. Ships fought. People died. Nothing changed except everything felt heavier now. Jinho flew his missions and followed his orders, but something was different inside him. He thought about Nari sometimes, wondering if she made it home safely, wondering if she remembered him. His commanders had given him hell for saving the Valtharan girl. A formal reprimand went into his record. Some officers called him soft, stupid, said he wasted resources on the enemy, but his squadron respected him more than before. They knew what he did took courage of a different kind. Jinho was assigned to a deep space reconnaissance mission far from the main battle lines. Boring work, but safe. He was checking scanner readings when his communications officer called him to the bridge. "Captain Kim, you need to see this," the young officer said. Her face looked confused, maybe scared. Jinho walked onto the bridge and looked at the main screen. A Valtharan diplomatic vessel was approaching, large and elegant, painted in white and gold. A ship built for peace talks, not war. "They're broadcasting on all channels," his communications officer said. "They want to talk." "To us?" Jinho asked. They were just a small reconnaissance ship. Why would Valtharan diplomats want to talk to them? "Not exactly, sir." The officer swallowed hard. "They're asking for you. By name." Jinho felt his blood go cold. "What?" "They want Captain Jinho Kim to accept their diplomatic invitation. They say it's urgent. They say it's about peace." The message went up the chain of command fast. Within hours, Terran High Command was in emergency meetings. Why would the enemy want one specific pilot? Was it a trap? An assassination attempt? Some kind of trick? Intelligence officers investigated everything about Jinho's last 3 months. They found the report about saving the Valtharan girl. They questioned him for hours about what happened, what he said, what she said. Jinho told them everything. He had nothing to hide. Finally, after 2 days of debate, the decision came down. Jinho would go to the neutral meeting station, but with a full security team. If this was a trap, they would be ready. The journey to the neutral station took 4 days. Jinho barely slept. His mind kept running through possibilities. What did they want? Why him? Was Nari okay? When they docked at the station, Valtharan guards waited for them. Tall and professional, wearing ceremonial armor. They didn't point weapons, but Jinho's security team stayed alert anyway. "Captain Kim," one of the Valtharan guards said in perfect human language. "Please follow us. The Empress is waiting." "The Empress?" Jinho repeated. His stomach dropped. The Empress, the ruler of the entire Valtharan Empire, wanted to see him. They walked through the station's diplomatic wing. The corridors were elegant, designed to be neutral ground where enemies could meet safely. Finally, they reached a large room with high ceilings and soft lighting, and there she was. Empress Mirai stood in the center of the room and Jinho forgot how to breathe. She was tall even for a Valtharan. Her skin had the pale blue color of her people, but it seemed to glow softly in the light. Her dark hair was pulled back in an elaborate style that showed her long, elegant neck. She wore robes of deep purple and silver, formal and beautiful, but what struck Jinho most were her eyes. Dark and intelligent, they looked at him with an intensity that made him feel small and important at the same time. Next to her stood Nari. The girl looked healthy and happy. She wore a small version of formal robes and her hair was braided with silver threads. When she saw Jinho, her face lit up like a star. "Captain Kim," she said in careful human language, the words clearly practiced. "You came." Jinho couldn't help but smile. "Hello, Nari, I'm glad you're safe." Empress Mirai stepped forward. She moved with grace and power, like a queen and a warrior at the same time. When she spoke, her voice was strong but warm. "Captain Jinho Kim, thank you for accepting our invitation. I am Mirai, Empress of the Valtharan Empire, and this is my daughter, Nari." Jinho's mind went blank. Daughter. The little girl he saved was the Empress's daughter. He quickly bowed, unsure of the proper protocol. "Your Majesty, I didn't know. I just wanted to help her." "I know," Mirai said. "That is why we are here." She gestured to chairs arranged in the room. Jinho's security team stayed near the doors, and Valtharan guards did the same. But in the center, it was just Jinho, Mirai, and Nari. Mirai sat with perfect posture, but her eyes were soft when she looked at her daughter. 3 months ago, I thought Nari was dead. Her ship was attacked. Her pod disappeared in the debris field. We searched for days but found nothing. I mourned her. I accepted that she was gone. She paused, and Jinho saw real pain in her face, the face of a mother who lost her child. Then the Draxian diplomats contacted us. They said they had my daughter, that a human pilot had rescued her and kept her safe. At first, I didn't believe it. Why would a human save a Valtharan? Why would an enemy show mercy? Nari reached over and took her mother's hand. Mirai squeezed it gently before continuing. "Nari told me everything. How you pulled her from the broken pod. How you shared your food even though you had little. How you gave her your blanket and showed her pictures of your world. How you risked punishment to return her safely instead of taking her as a prisoner." Mirai looked directly into Jinho's eyes. "You saved my daughter's life. More than that, you treated her with kindness when you had no reason to. You are my enemy, Captain Kim, but you acted with more honor than many of my own people would have." Jinho didn't know what to say. "I just did what was right. She was a child. She needed help." "Many would not have helped," Mirai said quietly. "Many would have left her to die or worse, but you didn't. That tells me something important about you, and it made me think about this war." She stood up and walked to a window that looked out at the stars. Jinho and Nari watched her. "This war has lasted for 18 years, Mirai said. 18 years of death and destruction. My people say humans are monsters. Your people say the same about us. We teach our children to hate before they learn to read. And for what? I cannot even remember how this started." She turned back to face Jinho. "But if someone like you exists among humanity, then perhaps we are not so different. Perhaps this war doesn't have to continue forever. Perhaps there is another way." Jinho felt his heart beating fast. "What are you saying, Your Majesty?" "I am saying I want to explore peace," Mirai said. "Real peace, not just a temporary ceasefire. But my people don't trust yours and your people don't trust mine. We need someone who can bridge that gap. Someone both sides can respect." She stepped closer to him. "I want you to serve as a cultural liaison, Captain Kim. Help me understand humanity. Help your people understand the Valtharans. Work with us to find a path forward." Jinho was overwhelmed. "I'm just a pilot. I'm not a diplomat or a politician." "Exactly," Mirai said, and she smiled for the first time. It transformed her face, making her look younger and warmer. "I don't need politicians. I need someone real, someone who acts from the heart, someone my daughter trusts completely." Nari nodded eagerly. "Please say yes. You can help stop the fighting. You can save more people." Jinho looked at the girl he had saved, then at her mother, the Empress of the enemy empire, then at the stars outside the window, where ships full of soldiers on both sides were probably fighting right now. He thought about all the friends he had lost, all the death he had seen. If there was even a small chance to end it, how could he say no? "I'll do it," he said. "I'll help however I can." Mirai's smile grew wider. She extended her hand in the human custom. Jinho took it and they shook. Her hand was warm and strong. "Thank you, Captain Kim," she said. "You have already saved my daughter. Now perhaps you can help save both our peoples." As Jinho held her hand, he noticed something in her eyes, something more than just political interest, something that made his pulse quicken. This was going to change everything. The first month was strange. Jinho lived on the neutral station, meeting with Valtharan diplomats and officials during the day, reporting back to Terran Command at night. Everyone watched him carefully. Everyone had opinions. But slowly, carefully, the ice began to melt. He taught classes about human culture to Valtharan officials who had never met a human before. He explained human history, art, philosophy, why humans valued individual freedom so much, why they fought so hard for their beliefs. Many Valtharans were surprised. They had been taught that humans were simple and violent. They didn't expect poetry and music and complex ideas. Jinho learned about Valtharan culture too. Their deep respect for tradition, their complex honor codes, their beautiful art that focused on harmony and balance. He realized they weren't so different from humans. They loved their families. They feared death. They hoped for better futures. But the most important meetings were with Mirai. At first, she came with advisors and guards. They discussed formal topics in careful language. Trade agreements, prisoner exchanges, ceasefire zones. Everything was professional and distant. But gradually, the meetings changed. Mirai started dismissing her advisors, asking them to wait outside. Just her, Jinho, and sometimes Nari. The conversations became more personal. "Tell me about Earth," Mirai said one day. They were sitting in a private room overlooking the station's central garden. "Nari showed me the pictures you gave her. The blue oceans, the green forests. It looks beautiful." Jinho smiled, remembering home. "It is beautiful. I grew up near the ocean. Every morning I could hear the waves. My father taught me to fish when I was 6. I was terrible at it, but he was patient." "Your father sounds like a good man," Mirai said softly. "He was. He died 5 years ago. Heart attack. Quick and painless, at least." Jinho looked down at his hands. "I never got to say goodbye. I was deployed when it happened." Mirai was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I lost my husband 12 years ago. Political rivals tried to take power while I was pregnant with Nari. He protected me during the coup. Died protecting me." Jinho looked at her. The pain in her eyes was old but still deep. "I crushed the rebellion," Mirai continued. "I showed no mercy to those who tried to kill my child before she was even born. Some say I was cruel. Maybe I was. But I would do it again. Nari is everything to me." "She's lucky to have you," Jinho said. Mirai looked surprised. "Most people say I'm too protective, too controlling. They say I keep her locked away like a treasure instead of preparing her to rule." "You almost lost her," Jinho said simply. Any parent would be protective after that. Something changed in Mirai's expression. She looked at him with new understanding, like he had said something important. After that, their conversations grew deeper. Mirai asked him about human concepts of love and loyalty, about human fears and dreams. She told him about the loneliness of power, about making decisions that affected billions but having no one to share the burden with. "Everyone wants something from me," she said one evening. They were alone, sitting across from each other with cups of Valtharan tea. "Advisors want influence. Nobles want favors. Even my friends, if I can call them that, treat me as the Empress first and a person second." "That sounds exhausting," Jinho said. "It is," she smiled sadly. "You're the first person in years who talks to me like I'm just Mirai. Not your majesty, not the Empress, just a woman." "You are just a woman," Jinho said. "A woman with a lot of responsibility, yes. But still just a person trying to do her best." Mirai looked at him for a long moment. The air between them felt thick, charged with something neither of them wanted to name yet. Nari became Jinho's constant companion during free time. The girl had decided he was her favorite person after her mother. She insisted on teaching him the Valtharan language, laughing when he mispronounced words. She showed him Valtharan games and music. She told him stories about growing up in the palace. "Mother never smiles much," Nari said one day. They were walking through the station gardens while Mirai was in meetings. "But she smiles when you're around. Did you notice?" Jinho felt his face get warm. "I think you're imagining things." "I'm not," Nari said with the certainty of a child. "She likes you. I can tell. And I think you like her too." "It's not that simple," Jinho said. We're from different worlds. We're supposed to be enemies. But you're not enemies, Nari said. You saved me. You're helping with peace. You're friends at least, right? Yes, Jinho admitted. We're friends, Nari grinned. Good, I want you to stay. I want you to be part of our family. The words made Jinho's chest tight. He wanted that too, more than he should. But it was impossible. Wasn't it? Not everyone was happy about the growing relationship between Jinho and the royal family. Admiral Taeyeon, Mirei's chief military advisor, made her disapproval clear. The human is manipulating you, Your Majesty, Taeyeon said during a meeting that Jinho wasn't supposed to hear. But the walls were thin and voices carried. He saved your daughter, yes. But now he's using that to gain influence over you. Can't you see? Captain Kim has asked for nothing, Mirei said coldly. He serves as a liaison because I asked him to. He has been nothing but respectful and honest. He's an enemy soldier, Taeyeon insisted. No matter how nice he seems, he's gathering intelligence, learning our weaknesses. When the time comes, he'll use everything against us. You're wrong about him, Mirei said. I hope so, Your Majesty, Taeyeon replied. But if I'm right, his presence here is a danger to the Empire, and to you personally. Later, Mirei told Jinho about the conversation. They were in her private quarters, a rare honor. She looked tired. Taeyeon doesn't trust you, she said. Many in my court don't. They think I'm being foolish, letting my emotions cloud my judgment. Maybe they're right, Jinho said quietly. Maybe you should keep more distance. For political reasons. Is that what you want? Mirei asked. She looked at him directly, and Jinho saw vulnerability in her eyes. Distance? Jinho knew he should say yes. Should agree that they were getting too close, too comfortable with each other. Should acknowledge that an empress and an enemy soldier had no business becoming friends, let alone anything more. But he couldn't lie to her. No, he said. That's not what I want. Mirei stood up and walked to where he sat. She was close enough that he could smell her perfume, something floral and sweet, close enough that he could see the slight tremor in her hands. I haven't felt this way in years, she whispered. Like there's someone who sees me, really sees me. Not the Empress, not the widow, not the icon, just me. I do see you, Jinho said. His heart was pounding. I see a strong woman who carries too much alone. I see someone who loves her daughter more than anything. I see someone trying to end a war that's hurt too many people. What else do you see? Mirei asked. She was even closer now. I see someone beautiful, Jinho said honestly. Inside and out. Someone I think about too much. Someone I shouldn't want but do anyway. Mirei's breath caught. For a moment, Jinho thought she might kiss him. He wanted her to, but she stepped back, composing herself with visible effort. This is dangerous, she said. For both of us. If we cross this line, there's no going back. I know, Jinho said. My people would be angry. Your people would be angry. It could ruin everything we're trying to build. I know, Jinho said again. Mirei looked at him with eyes full of conflict. Want and duty fighting inside her. We should be careful. We should be smart. We should think about the consequences. Yes, Jinho agreed. We should. They stood there looking at each other, both knowing they were lying to themselves, knowing that something had already started between them that couldn't be stopped, knowing that every day they spent together made it harder to pretend there was nothing there. Finally, Mirei smiled. Small and sad and beautiful. Stay for dinner, she said. Nari would love it. She's been practicing a human recipe she wants you to try. I'd like that, Jinho said. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't a declaration. But it was a choice. A choice to keep spending time together. To keep letting this impossible thing between them grow. And they both knew it. The peace talks were working. Slowly, carefully, but working. After 4 months of negotiations, both sides had agreed to prisoner exchanges and humanitarian aid corridors. Small victories, but victories nonetheless. Hope was growing that maybe, just maybe, this war could actually end. Jinho had become a familiar face in Valthuran diplomatic circles. Some still treated him with suspicion, but others respected him. He was the human who saved the princess, the bridge between worlds, the proof that enemies could become friends. A formal cultural ceremony was planned on one of the larger Valthuran stations near the border. Representatives from both sides would attend. Music, food, art from both cultures. A celebration of growing understanding. Jinho dressed carefully for the event. He wore a formal uniform that combined human and Valthuran elements. designed specifically for his role as liaison. When he looked in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. 4 months ago, he was just a fighter pilot. Now he was something else entirely. Mirai would be there. They had been careful in public, maintaining professional distance. But in private, their relationship had deepened. Late-night conversations that stretched until dawn. Shared meals where they laughed like old friends. Moments when their hands touched and neither pulled away. They hadn't kissed. Hadn't crossed that final line. But both knew it was only a matter of time. The ceremony hall was beautiful. High ceilings decorated with flowing banners in both human and Valtharan styles. Tables filled with food from both cultures. Musicians played a mix of melodies that somehow worked together. Jinho stood near one of the large windows watching people mingle. Humans and Valtharans talking carefully, awkwardly, but talking. It was progress. Captain Kim, a Valtharan official, approached him. Someone he didn't recognize. The Empress requests your presence in the East Wing. She has someone important for you to meet. Jinho nodded and followed. The East Wing was quieter, away from the main celebration. His instincts started to whisper warnings, but he pushed them down. He was probably just being paranoid. The official led him down a long corridor. Too quiet, too empty. Jinho stopped walking. Where exactly are we going? The official turned and Jinho saw the weapon a second before the blast. He dove sideways as energy fire scorched the wall where his head had been. Training took over. Roll, move, don't stop moving. More attackers came from side doors. 4 of them, all armed, all professional. Assassins. Jinho wasn't armed. He was at a peace ceremony. No one was supposed to have weapons. But these people clearly didn't care about the rules. He fought like his life depended on it because it did. Hand-to-hand combat, using his smaller size and speed against larger opponents. He got one attacker down, then another. But there were too many, and they were good. A blast caught him in the shoulder. Pain exploded through his body as he went down. An assassin stood over him, weapon pointed at his head. Nothing personal, human, the assassin said. You're just a problem that needs to be removed. Then the assassin's head snapped back as someone hit him from behind. The attacker fell, and there stood Mirai. The Empress wore a formal gown, but she moved like a warrior. She had a blade in one hand, an energy pistol in the other, and her face was terrible with rage. Behind her, her elite royal guard poured into the corridor. What happened next was beautiful and terrifying. Mirai moved through the remaining assassins like death itself. Fast, precise, absolutely lethal. She cut down one attacker with her blade, shot another with perfect accuracy. Her guards handled the rest with brutal efficiency. When it was over, 4 assassins lay dead or unconscious. The fake official who had led Jinho into the trap was on his knees, held by guards. Mirai dropped her weapons and fell beside Jinho. Her hands shook as she pressed against his wounded shoulder, trying to stop the bleeding. Her perfect composure was gone. Her eyes were wide with fear. Get medical here now. She screamed at her guards. Now! I'm okay, Jinho said, though the pain was intense. It's just my shoulder. You're not okay, Mirai said. Tears were running down her face. The Empress was crying in front of her guards, in front of everyone, and she didn't care. You're hurt. You almost died. She couldn't finish the sentence. Her hands cupped his face, gentle despite the blood. I thought I lost you, she whispered. When they told me about the assassins, I thought I was too late. I'm here, Jinho said. He reached up with his good arm and touched her face. I'm still here. Medical teams arrived and took over. They worked on Jinho's shoulder while Mirai held his hand, refusing to let go. She barked orders at her guards, demanded information about who planned this, threatened terrible things to anyone involved. But she never let go of his hand. Later, in the medical bay, after doctors had patched up his shoulder and given him pain medication, Mirai finally sat down. She looked exhausted. Her perfect hair was messy. Her formal gown had blood on it. His blood. You saved my life, Jinho said. His voice was rough from the pain meds. How did you know? One of my intelligence officers noticed unusual communications, Mirai said quietly. Encrypted messages between certain military officials. We suspected something, but didn't know what. When I heard you were being led away from the main hall, I knew. I just knew. She squeezed his hand tighter. I've been Empress for 12 years. I've survived 3 assassination attempts on my own life. I've made hard decisions that cost lives. But in that corridor, when I saw you on the ground and that weapon pointed at your head, I felt more afraid than I ever have. Why? Jinho asked, though he thought he knew the answer. Mirai looked at him with those dark, beautiful eyes. No more pretending. No more careful distance. Because I love you, she said simply. I've tried not to. I've told myself it's impossible, it's foolish, it's dangerous, but I can't help it. I love you, Jinho Kim, and I nearly lost you today. Jinho felt his heart stop and start again. The pain in his shoulder disappeared. Everything disappeared except her. I love you too, he said. I've loved you for weeks, maybe months. I just didn't know how to say it. Mirai made a sound between a laugh and a sob. Then she leaned forward and kissed him. It was gentle at first, careful of his injury, but then it deepened, months of denied feelings pouring out. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. This is going to cause so many problems, Mirai said, but she was smiling. I know, Jinho said. Do you care? Not even a little bit, she said, and kissed him again. Over the next few days, the investigation moved quickly. The assassins had been hired by Admiral Taeon and several high-ranking military officers. They saw Jinho as a corrupting influence on the Empress, weakening her resolve to win the war. They had planned to kill him and blame it on human extremists, hoping it would restart the conflict. Mirai was ruthless in her response. Taeon and the others were arrested and tried for treason. The trials were swift and the punishments severe. The Empress made it clear to everyone in her court that Jinho was under her personal protection. Anyone who threatened him threatened her directly. Some in the Valthuran court were shocked by her fierce reaction. Others understood what it meant. The Empress had feelings for the human. Deep feelings. Nari visited Jinho in the medical bay every day. She brought him books and tried to teach him more Valthuran words, but mostly she just sat with him, holding his hand like her mother did. I'm glad you're okay, she said one afternoon. I was so scared when I heard what happened. I'm tough, Jinho said with a smile. Hard to get rid of. Good, Nari said seriously. Because we need you. Mother needs you. She's different when you're around, happier, lighter, like she's finally not alone anymore. Jinho touched her hair gently. You're a smart girl, Nari. I know, she said with a grin. Then more quietly, are you going to stay? Really stay? Not just for the peace talks, but for us? Jinho looked at this brave girl he had saved, at her mother who had saved him in return, at the impossible situation they were all in. Yes, he said. If your mother wants me, if you want me, I'll stay. For as long as you'll have me. Nari hugged him carefully, mindful of his shoulder. Forever, then. We'll have you forever. In that moment, Jinho realized his life had changed completely. He had crossed a line he could never uncross. Fallen in love with an empress. Become part of a family that wasn't his species. And he wouldn't change any of it. The assassination attempt changed everything. What had been quiet whispers became loud conversations. The Empress was involved with the human. Everyone could see it now. The way she looked at him. The way she touched his hand in public. The fierce protection she showed. Some Valthurans celebrated it as a symbol of unity between their peoples. Others saw it as a scandal, a betrayal of Valthuran traditions. The court was divided. On the human side, reactions were mixed too. Some saw Jinho as a hero, building bridges to the enemy and helping secure peace. Others called him a traitor, who had been seduced by the enemy leader. Military command was uncomfortable with the whole situation. But the peace talks continued. Both sides were too invested to stop now. And the assassination attempt had actually helped in a strange way. It proved that extremists on both sides wanted the war to continue, which made the moderates more determined to succeed. Jinho recovered from his shoulder wound over the next 2 weeks. Mirai visited him every day, sometimes with Nari, sometimes alone. When they were alone, they talked about everything and nothing. They kissed like teenagers. They held each other like drowning people holding on to life. What are we going to do? Jinho asked one evening. They were in his quarters on the neutral station, sitting close together on a small couch. We can't keep this secret much longer. Everyone already knows. I know, Mirai said. She rested her head on his good shoulder. My advisors are pressuring me to make a statement, to either confirm or deny our relationship. They say the uncertainty is causing problems. What do you want to do? Jinho asked. Mirai was quiet for a long moment. Then she sat up and looked at him seriously. I want you with me, publicly, officially, not hiding, not pretending. I want everyone to know that I've chosen you. Jinho's heart raced. That's going to cause problems. Big problems. I know, Mirai said. But I've been thinking, what if we turn it into something positive? What if we make it part of the peace process? She stood up and started pacing, her mind clearly working through a plan. Jinho watched her with admiration. This was the Empress now, not just Mirai. Strategic and powerful. In Valtheran culture, we have something called a unity bond, she explained. When two powerful houses want to ensure peace between them, they seal it with a union, a marriage that ties the families together. It's political as much as personal. You want us to get married? Jinho asked, shocked. Not just us, Mirai said carefully. I want to propose it as part of the peace treaty, a symbolic union between our peoples. You would join the royal household, become part of the imperial family. It would show both our civilizations that peace is possible at the deepest level. Jinho stood up, his mind spinning. Mirai, that's huge. I'm not royalty. I'm just a pilot. Your people would never accept it. Some won't, Mirai admitted, but others will see the wisdom in it. And more importantly, it gives us a way to be together without it looking like a scandal. It becomes a strategic alliance instead of a forbidden romance. What about my people? Jinho asked. What would they say? That's the question, isn't it? Mirai stepped closer to him. Jinho, I'm not asking you to answer now. This is a huge decision that will change your entire life. You would have to leave the Terran military. Leave your people. Come live in Valtheran space. Be part of my world. I'd be giving up everything I know, Jinho said quietly. Yes, Mirai said honestly. I won't lie to you about that. It won't be easy. There will be people who hate you for it. Some will always see you as the enemy no matter what, and you'll be far from Earth, far from your family and friends. She took his hands in hers, but you'd also be helping to secure peace. You'd be saving lives, and you'd be with me and Nari. We'd be a family. Jinho looked at this incredible woman who had somehow fallen in love with him, an empress who could have anyone but chose him, who was willing to face political disaster for him. I need to think, he said. This is the biggest decision of my life. I know. Mirai kissed him gently. Take the time you need. Whatever you decide, I'll understand. Over the next week, Jinho barely slept. He talked to his commanders who had mixed reactions. Some thought it was a brilliant strategic move. Others thought he was being manipulated. None could tell him what to do. He contacted his family on Earth through long-range communications. His mother cried, worried about losing her son to another world. His sister asked if he was sure, if this was really what he wanted. His brother said he was either the bravest or stupidest person alive, maybe both, but it was Nari who helped him decide. She found him in the station's observation deck, staring out at the stars. She sat down next to him quietly. You're thinking about leaving, aren't you? She asked. Mother told me about the Unity Bond proposal. You're not sure if you should say yes. It's complicated, Jinho said. Not really, Nari said with the simple wisdom of youth. Do you love my mother? Yes, Jinho said without hesitation. Do you want to be with us? Be a family? Yes, Jinho said again. Then stay, Nari said simply. Everything else is just noise. If you love someone, you stay. That's what family means. She leaned against him. I know you'd be giving up a lot. Your home, your people, your old life. But you'd be getting something too. You'd get us, and we'd get you. Isn't that worth it? Jinho put his arm around her. This girl who had started everything, who he had saved without knowing how much she would change his life. Yeah, he said quietly. It's worth it. The next day, Jinho told Mirai his decision. She cried with relief and joy, holding him tight. Are you absolutely sure? She asked. Because once we announce this, there's no going back. I'm sure, Jinho said. Let's do this. Let's end this war and build something new. Together. The announcement was made during a joint session of peace negotiations, broadcast across both empires. Representatives from both sides filled the large conference hall. Millions watched on screens. Mirai stood at the podium, regal and powerful in formal robes. Jinho stood slightly behind her in his cultural liaison uniform. His heart was pounding, but he kept his face calm. Representatives of the Valtheran Empire and the Terran Defense Coalition, Mirai began. We have gathered here for months, working toward peace. We have made progress. We have started to understand each other. But words alone are not enough. She paused, letting the silence build. 4 months ago, Captain Jinho Kim of the Terran forces saved my daughter's life when he had no obligation to do so. He showed compassion to an enemy child. He treated her with kindness and respect. His actions proved to me that humans are not the monsters we've been taught to fear. Mirai looked directly at the cameras, at the billions watching. Captain Kim has since served as a cultural liaison, helping our peoples understand each other. He has risked his life for peace. He has shown more courage and honor than many born into my own empire, and he has earned my deepest respect and gratitude. Another pause. Jinho could feel everyone's eyes on him. In our culture, we have a tradition called the unity bond, Mirai continued. When two great houses wish to ensure lasting peace, they seal it with a union that joins their families. Today I propose something unprecedented, a unity bond between our peoples. Murmurs swept through the crowd. Everyone was leaning forward now. If the Terran coalition is willing to show their commitment to lasting peace, they can offer someone of significance to join with the Valtheran imperial household. Someone who represents the best of humanity. Someone who has already proven their dedication to bridging our worlds. She turned and looked at Jinho. Her eyes were warm, proud, loving. I am speaking, of course, of Captain Jinho Kim. If he is willing, and if his people allow it, I would welcome him into my family and my life. Not just as a political symbol, but as a partner, as someone I have come to deeply care for. The room exploded with voices. Shock, surprise, approval, anger all mixed together. Jinho stepped forward to stand beside Mirai. She took his hand in front of everyone. "This is my choice," she said loudly, silencing the crowd. "I am Empress, and this is my decision. Captain Kim has shown more honor than most nobles in my court. He will be treated with the respect he deserves. Any who oppose this oppose me directly." Then she looked at Jinho and smiled. In front of billions of watching eyes, she said softly but clearly, "Will you join with me, Jinho Kim? Will you help me end this war and build a future for our peoples?" Jinho knew every camera was on him, knew that people across the galaxy were watching and judging, knew that his answer would echo through history. But in that moment he only saw Mirai. Strong, beautiful, impossible Mirai who had chosen him. "Yes," he said clearly. "I will." The room erupted again, but Jinho didn't hear it. Because Mirai was kissing him, in front of everyone, holding nothing back. The war wasn't over yet. There would be negotiations and arguments and problems ahead. But in that moment, a bridge was built. A human and a Valtheran choosing each other, showing that peace was possible. It was a beginning. The announcement sent shockwaves through both civilizations. Within hours, news networks were analyzing every second of Mirai's speech and Jinho's response. Experts debated what it meant. Politicians argued about whether it was brilliant or dangerous. Common people had opinions that ranged from romantic to furious. The reaction was split almost perfectly down the middle on both sides. Half thought it was a beautiful symbol of peace, proof that love could conquer even war. Half thought it was a betrayal, a scandal, a mistake that would end badly. Jinho was given 2 weeks to make his final decision. The Terran High Command needed time to debate their response. Some argued that sending a human to join the Valtheran royal household was a strategic victory, giving humanity influence at the heart of enemy power. Others insisted it was surrendering one of their people to appease the enemy. Mirai told him to go home to Earth, to see his family one more time, to understand what he would be leaving behind before making a choice that couldn't be undone. So Jinho went home. Earth looked different after months in space, bluer, greener, more alive. He took a transport down to the surface and stepped onto solid ground for the first time in almost a year. The air smelled like salt and grass. He had forgotten how good real air felt. His family met him at the spaceport. His mother hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. His sister cried. His brother punched his arm and called him crazy. It was good to see them. It hurt how good it was. They went to the family home near the coast, the house where Jinho grew up, where his father taught him to fish and his mother taught him to cook, where he had been just a normal kid before the war changed everything. That night they sat around the dinner table together. His mother made all his favorite foods. For a while they just ate and talked about normal things, the weather, the neighbors. His cousin's new baby. It felt like old times. But eventually they had to talk about the real reason he was there. "You're really going to do it?" his mother asked. Her eyes were red from crying. "You're going to leave and never come back?" "I can visit," Jinho said, though even as he said it, he knew it wouldn't be the same. Ships travel between our worlds now. The peace treaty will make it easier. But you won't be ours anymore, his mother said. You'll be hers, Valtheran, part of their family instead of ours. The words hurt because they were true. I'll always be your son, Jinho said. That won't change. Everything will change, his sister said. Not angry, just sad. You'll live in another world. Follow their customs. Maybe even have children who are half Valtheran. You'll be so far away from everything that made you who you are. Is she worth it? His brother asked bluntly. This Empress. Is she worth giving up your entire life? Jinho thought about Mirai, her strength and vulnerability, her fierce love for Nari, the way she smiled when they were alone, the conversations that lasted until dawn, the feeling of rightness when he held her. Yes, he said simply. She's worth it. His mother took his hand. Then we support you. We don't understand it and it breaks our hearts, but we support you, because you're our son and we want you to be happy. They talked long into the night. His family shared memories of his father, wishing he could be there to give advice. They made Jinho promise to stay connected, to send messages, to remember where he came from. He promised everything they asked. The next day, Jinho visited the war memorial near the capital. Thousands of names carved into black stone, people who died in the conflict. Some of them had been his friends, his squadron mates, good people who would never go home. He stood there for hours reading names, remembering faces, wondering if his choice honored their sacrifice or betrayed it. You saved my life once, a voice said behind him. Jinho turned to see an older pilot, someone he had flown with years ago. Sector 7 battle. You pulled me out of a damaged ship while we were under fire. I never got to thank you properly. Just doing my job, Jinho said. No, the pilot said. It was more than that. You risked your life for mine. That's not just duty. That's who you are. Someone who saves people even when it's dangerous, even when it costs you. He looked at the memorial wall. I heard about what you're planning. Some people are calling you a traitor, but I think they're wrong. You're still saving people, just on a bigger scale now. If you can end this war, you'll save more lives than all of us pilots combined. You think I should do it? Jinho asked. I think you already decided, the pilot said with a slight smile. You just came here to make peace with that decision. And I think that's okay. Go end this war, Captain Kim. Give all these deaths meaning. Jinho visited his father's grave before leaving Earth, a simple stone marker overlooking the ocean. He sat in the grass and talked to his father like he used to when he was young. I don't know what you would say about all this, Dad, Jinho said quietly. You always told me to do the right thing even when it was hard, but I'm not sure what the right thing is anymore. The wind blew, making the grass whisper. The waves crashed rhythmically on the shore below. His father had loved this sound, said it helped him think clearly. I love her, Dad. I love Mirai. And I love Nari like she's already my daughter. Being with them feels right. But leaving you all behind, leaving Earth, it feels wrong too. How can something be both right and wrong at the same time? No answer came, of course. But sitting there listening to the ocean, Jinho felt a kind of peace settle over him. His father had believed in following your heart while staying true to your values. Jinho's heart wanted Mirai. His values said to work for peace, to end the killing. Maybe it wasn't about choosing between right and wrong. Maybe it was about choosing what kind of future he wanted to help build. On his last night on Earth, Jinho stood on the beach alone. He watched the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. He breathed the salt air deep into his lungs. He tried to memorize everything about this moment, this place, this feeling of being home. His communicator buzzed. A message from Mirai, just 3 words, missing you. Jinho smiled and typed back, coming home soon. Then he realized what he had written. Coming home. Not returning or going back. Home. Because that was what Mirai and Nari had become. Home wasn't a place anymore. It was people. People he loved and who loved him back. The next morning, Jinho recorded a formal message to the Terran High Command. He sat in his childhood bedroom surrounded by old photos and memories, and made the speech that would define his future. My name is Captain Jinho Kim, and I accept Empress Mirai's proposal of unity bond. I request honorable discharge from the Terran Defense Forces so that I may join the Valtheran Imperial household. I make this choice freely, with full understanding of what I'm giving up and what I'm gaining. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I've spent 6 years fighting in this war. I've seen good people die for causes they believed in. I've killed enemy soldiers who probably had families and dreams just like mine. I'm tired of death. We all are. If my choice can help end this conflict, if it can prove that humans and Valthorans cannot just tolerate each other but love each other, then I believe it's worth any sacrifice. Another pause. His throat felt tight. I'm not a politician or a diplomat. I'm just a pilot who wanted to do the right thing. I saved a little girl because she needed help. I fell in love with her mother because she's extraordinary. And now I'm choosing them. Choosing peace. Choosing hope. I ask my people to support this decision, not for me, but for all the lives it could save. He ended the recording and sent it. 3 days later, the response came. After intense debate, the Terran High Command agreed to support the unity bond. They would formally grant Jinho honorable discharge and recognize his new status as part of the Valthoran Imperial household. Some commanders voted against it, but the majority saw the strategic and symbolic value. The peace treaty negotiations accelerated. With the unity bond approved, both sides pushed harder to finalize the agreement. They wanted the formal bonding ceremony and the treaty signing to happen together, a new beginning for both civilizations. Jinho packed his few belongings from Earth, photos of his family, his father's old fishing knife, a shell from the beach where he grew up, small things that connected him to where he came from. He would need them in the years ahead when he felt lost in an alien world. His family came to the spaceport to say goodbye. There were tears and long hugs and promises to stay connected. His mother made him promise to be happy. His sister made him promise to send photos. His brother made him promise to not forget where he came from. I won't forget, Jinho said. You're all part of me. That won't change no matter where I live. As the transport lifted off, Jinho watched Earth grow smaller through the window, blue and green and beautiful, spinning in the darkness. His home, his past. But ahead of him, somewhere in the vast space between stars, Mirai and Nari were waiting. His future. His new home. And Jinho realized he was ready. Ready to let go of who he had been and become who he was meant to be. A bridge between worlds. A symbol of peace. A father and partner. The war was almost over. A new life was about to begin. And Jinho was finally at peace with his choice. 6 months after the announcement, the Valthoran homeworld prepared for an event that had never happened before. A human was coming to join the Imperial family. Ships from both civilizations gathered in orbit. Representatives, dignitaries, citizens who won lottery spots to attend. Everyone wanted to witness this moment. Jinho stood in his quarters on the diplomatic vessel, adjusting his ceremonial outfit for the 10th time. It was a hybrid design, blending human and Valthoran formal wear. Human military dress on one side, flowing Valthoran robes on the other, 2 halves making one whole, a symbol of what he was becoming. You look nervous, Nari said from the doorway. She had grown over the past months. Taller, more confident, still that same girl he saved, but becoming a young woman now. She wore formal robes in silver and blue, her hair braided with crystals that caught the light. I am nervous, Jinho admitted. I'm about to join the Imperial family of an entire civilization. In front of billions of people. Wouldn't you be nervous? Yes, Nari said honestly. She stepped into the room and straightened his collar with the ease of someone who had been doing this for months. But you're ready. We're ready. This is going to be good. You really think so? Jinho asked. I know so, Nari said firmly. You and Mother are right together. Anyone with eyes can see it. And you're already like a father to me. This ceremony just makes it official. The words made Jinho's chest tight with emotion. You know I love you, right? Like you're my own daughter. I know, Nari said and hugged him. I love you too. That's why I want you to stop worrying. Today is supposed to be happy. A chime sounded. Time to go. The ceremony took place in the Grand Hall of the Imperial Palace, a massive space with ceilings so high they seemed to touch the sky. Thousands of seats filled with representatives from both civilizations. Cameras broadcasting to both worlds. The weight of history pressing down. Jinho walked down the long aisle, flanked by honor guards from both human and Valthoran forces. People watched him with expressions ranging from joy to disapproval. He ignored them all, focusing on the figure waiting at the end of the aisle. Mirai stood beneath an arch decorated with flowers from both Earth and the Valthoran homeworld. She wore traditional imperial robes in deep purple and gold, but incorporated human symbols of unity into the design. A circle and a triangle intertwined, two different shapes supporting each other. When Jinho saw her, everything else faded away. She was stunning, powerful and beautiful in his. She smiled when their eyes met, a smile just for him despite the thousands watching. He reached the arch and stood facing her. Both were breathing fast, excitement and nervousness mixing together. The ceremony began with traditional Valtharan rituals. Nari stepped forward as the ceremonial witness, holding the bond ribbons that would tie their hands together. She spoke in formal Valtharan, words about unity and trust and choosing family. Then came the human elements. A representative from Earth read vows about partnership and respect, about two individuals choosing to walk the same path, about love that bridges all distances. Mirai and Jinho spoke their own vows, words they had written together. Jinho Kim, Mirai said, her voice strong and clear. You came into my life because you chose compassion over duty. You saved my daughter when you had no reason to. You showed me that enemies can become family. Today I choose you as my partner. I promise to stand beside you, to protect you, to build a future with you. You have my heart and my trust forever. Jinho's voice shook slightly, but he pushed through. Mirai, you taught me that love can exist even in war. You showed me that strength and gentleness can coexist. You and Nari became my family when I least expected it. Today I choose you. I promise to stand beside you, to support you, to be the partner and father you both deserve. You have my heart and my loyalty forever. Nari wrapped the bond ribbons around their joined hands, tying them together with a knot that symbolized permanent connection. In Valtharan culture, this was the most important moment. Two lives becoming one, the officiant raised his hands. By the authority of the Valtharan Empire and with the recognition of the Terran Coalition, I declare this unity bond complete. You are now family, joined in purpose and spirit. May your union bring peace to all peoples. The hall erupted in applause. Some cheered enthusiastically, swept up in the emotion. Others clapped politely, still uncertain about what this meant. But everyone acknowledged it. The moment had happened. Human and Valtharan were joined. Mirai and Jinho kissed, and the applause grew louder. When they separated, both were smiling through tears. We did it, Mirai whispered. We did it, Jinho agreed. After the ceremony came the feast. Tables filled with food from both worlds. Music that blended human and Valtharan styles. People mixing carefully. Humans and Valtharans talking and laughing together for the first time in nearly 2 decades. Not everyone was happy. Jinho saw protesters outside the palace on the news feeds. Both human and Valtharan extremists who opposed the union. Some held signs calling him a traitor. Others called Mirai weak. There would always be people who couldn't accept change. But inside the hall there was hope. Old soldiers from both sides sharing drinks. Scientists exchanging ideas. Children playing together, not caring about species or politics. Late that night, after most guests had left, Jinho stood on a balcony overlooking the Valtharan capital. The city glowed with bioluminescent lights, completely different from Earth's electric glow but beautiful in its own way. Mirai joined him, still wearing her ceremonial robes. She leaned against him and he wrapped his arm around her. How do you feel? She asked. Overwhelmed, Jinho admitted. This city is going to be my home now. These people are going to be my people. It's a lot to take in. It will take time to adjust, Mirai said. There will be hard days. Days when you miss Earth so much it hurts. Days when you feel like an outsider even in your own home. But I'll be here. We'll face it together. I know, Jinho said. He kissed the top of her head. I don't regret it. Just so you know, I would make the same choice again. Even knowing how hard it will be? Mirai asked. Especially knowing that, Jinho said. Because the hard things are usually the important things. Nari appeared in the doorway. There you are. I've been looking everywhere. They're about to do the fireworks. She came to stand between them and they each put an arm around her, the 3 of them together watching the sky. Fireworks exploded overhead, human and Valtharan designs mixing together, colors and patterns that represented both worlds. A celebration of unity. What happens now? Nari asked. Now we build something new, Mirai said. The peace treaty is signed. The war is officially over. Tomorrow, we start the real work of helping our peoples understand each other, creating exchange programs, opening trade routes, healing old wounds. And us? Nari asked. What happens to our family? Jinho smiled. We figure out how to live together, how to blend our cultures, how to be a family that doesn't fit any normal definition. I like that, Nari said. Being different. Being special. The fireworks continued, lighting up the night sky. Ships from both civilizations flew in formation overhead, a demonstration of cooperation that would have been impossible a year ago. Jinho thought about the chain of events that led him here. Saving a scared girl from a broken pod, meeting an empress who changed everything, choosing love over fear, choosing peace over war. One small decision had rippled outward, touching billions of lives. The war was over. Two civilizations were learning to trust each other, and Jinho had found a family he never expected. In the days that followed, adjusting to his new life was harder than Jinho anticipated. The Valtharan language was difficult. The customs were confusing. The palace was too big, too formal. He felt lost sometimes, like a stranger in his own home. But Mirai was patient. She taught him about Valtharan history and traditions. She introduced him to key officials and nobles, building his reputation as someone worthy of respect. She stood beside him when others questioned his place. Nari helped too. She made him practice the language every day, laughing when he messed up but encouraging him to keep trying. She showed him the best spots in the palace, the quiet gardens where he could think. She included him in everything, making sure he never felt like an outsider. And slowly, things got easier. Jinho found his rhythm. He created a role for himself as the human liaison, helping Valtharans understand human culture while helping humans navigate Valtharan society. He became a bridge, just like he had been during the negotiations. The first joint human Valtharan exploration mission launched 6 months after the bonding ceremony. Ships from both civilizations working together, exploring unknown regions of space. Jinho stood with Mirai and Nari watching the launch and felt a deep sense of accomplishment. "This is what we made possible," Mirai said quietly. "We did something good," Jinho agreed. More changes followed. Exchange programs brought Valtharan students to Earth and human students to the Valtharan homeworld. Trade opened up, benefiting both economies. Scientists collaborated on research. Artists shared their work. It wasn't perfect. There were still incidents, still prejudice on both sides, still people who couldn't let go of old hatred. But the trajectory was clear. Two civilizations were learning to coexist, to respect each other.